The desert wind whispers across the Giza plateau, a dry, mournful sigh that has echoed for millennia. It swirls around the three immense, geometric mountains of stone that dominate the skyline, their silhouettes sharp against the deepening twilight. These are the Great Pyramids, the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. To gaze upon them is to feel the weight of ages, to be humbled by a scale that defies easy comprehension. And with that awe, for many, comes a question, a suspicion that has germinated in the shadow of these colossal structures. How, in an age we perceive as primitive, did human hands achieve such perfection, such grandeur? From this fertile ground of wonder, the seeds of conspiracy are sown, growing into vast, intricate vines that seek to explain the inexplicable, often reaching for the stars to find their answers. Our story begins not with a theory, but with the stark, overwhelming reality of the monuments themselves. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the largest of the trio, is a statistical marvel. It is composed of an estimated 2.3 million limestone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, the weight of a large SUV. Some of the interior blocks, like the gargantuan granite beams above the king's chamber, weigh in at a staggering 60 to 80 tons. These stones were not quarried locally, they were transported from over 500 miles away, moved across the desert, and then lifted to breathtaking heights. The pyramid's base is a near-perfect square, with sides originally measuring 755 feet, and the discrepancy between the longest and shortest side is a mere 2 inches. Its alignment to the cardinal points is so precise that it rivals what modern surveyors could achieve with GPS technology. This is not rough, hewn pile of rocks. It is a project of insane ambition and impossible precision, a machine of stone built for eternity. The official narrative, supported by the overwhelming consensus of Egyptologists and archaeologists, is one of human ingenuity, immense organization, and decades of grueling labor. It is a story written not in hieroglyphs of mystery, but in the physical evidence left behind. We have the workers' settlements at Giza, complete with bakeries, infirmaries, and graves, not of slaves whipped to death, but of skilled laborers who received medical care and were buried with honor. We have ancient papyri, like the Diary of Mera, which detail the logistics of transporting limestone blocks from Tura to Giza by boat. We have experimental archaeology, where teams using ancient techniques, copper chisels, dollarate pounders, wooden sleds, and mud brick ramps, have demonstrated the feasibility of the methods. The construction, they argue, was a national project, a religious duty that employed thousands of highly skilled workers and tens of thousands of seasonal laborers during the Nile's annual inundation, when farming was impossible. It was a society's entire focus, a testament to the divine power of their king and the organizational genius of their state. Yet, for a vocal and passionate segment of the world, this academic explanation feels insufficient. It seems to diminish the magic. The scale is too vast, the precision too acute, the timeline too short. The human story feels like a prosaic answer to a poetic question, and so, the search for a grander, more extraordinary truth begins. The first and most persistent alternative whispers on the wind. What if it wasn't humans? What if the architects were not from this earth? The ancient astronaut theory, popularized in the latter half of the 20th century, proposes that the technological leap required to build the pyramids was provided by extraterrestrial visitors. Proponents of this idea point to the seemingly anachronistic precision. They speak of the pyramid's placement at the exact center of the Earth's landmass, its mathematical encoding of the planet's dimensions. The perimeter divided by twice its height, giving a close approximation of pi. They marvel at the granite coffer in the king's chamber, cut from a single block of incredibly hard stone, with such sharp internal corners that it suggests tools far beyond copper saws and sand abrasives. To them, these are not the achievements of a Bronze Age culture, they are the fingerprints of a superior intelligence. This narrative paints a picture of the pharaohs not as god-kings, in a metaphorical sense, but as literal intermediaries for celestial beings. The pyramids, in this telling, were not tombs, but perhaps power plants, energy transmitters, or celestial markers, beacons guiding star, pharaoh's home. The theories are often backed by interpretations of art and hieroglyphs. A strange disk here is a flying saucer. An odd figure there is an alien in a spacesuit. The allure is powerful. It transforms the plateau from a cemetery into a cosmic landing pad, replacing the sweat of laborers with the cool, advanced technology of star travelers. It satisfies a deep craving for a lost, golden age of contact with higher powers, a time when the universe felt smaller and more knowable. But if not aliens, then perhaps a lost, advanced human civilization. This is another compelling branch of the conspiracy tree. The theory of Atlantis, or another pre-Diluvian society, suggests that the pyramids are far older than the 400-500 years ascribed to them by Egyptology. Geologists like Robert Schoch have pointed to water erosion patterns on the Sphinx enclosure, which they argue suggest a much wetter climate, pushing its construction back thousands of years before the accepted date. If the Sphinx is older, the thinking goes, then perhaps the pyramids are too. This narrative speaks of a great cataclysm, a flood, a pole shift, an impact, that wiped this advanced culture from the face of the earth. The Giza complex, built on a high plateau, survived. Millennia later, the emerging dynastic Egyptians stumbled upon these colossal, weathered structures and claimed them as their own, incorporating them into their own mythology and funerary practices. The pyramids, therefore, are not achievements of the known ancient world, but relics of a truly ancient world, a time before history began. They are a message in a bottle from a forgotten chapter of humanity, a chapter where technology and spirituality were one, and we knew secrets we have since long forgotten. Then there are the theories rooted in a rejection of conventional physics, proposing that the ancients had mastered forces we are only beginning to understand. How were these monstrous stones moved? Not just with ramps and ropes, some say, but with sound. The idea of acoustic levitation is a seductive one. Perhaps the priests, architects knew the resonant frequency of the stone, using large arrays of drums, chanting, or mysterious instruments to make the massive blocks weightless, to guide them effortlessly into place. This theory often intertwines with the concept of sacred geometry and vibration, of the pyramids not just as structures, but as harmonic instruments, tuned to the frequency of the earth itself. Others look to the materials. The theory of geopolymerization suggests that the pyramid blocks were not quarried in the traditional sense, but cast in place like modern concrete. Proponents argue that the limestone could have been disaggregated, mixed with a binder like diatomaceous earth, and poured into wooden molds, explaining the perfect fits and the lack of quarry marks on many stones. This would drastically reduce the manpower needed for hauling and lifting, while mainstream geology points to the clear evidence of natural fossil patterns running across multiple blocks. Proof they were cut from bedrock. The cast in place theory persists as a more plausible, yet still unorthodox, human explanation that bridges the gap between the academic and the conspiratorial. The world of pyramid conspiracies is not a monolith, it is a spectrum. On one end, there are the rigorous alternative researchers who engage with the evidence, even if they draw different conclusions. They debate the type of ramp used, straight, zigzagging, or internal spiraling. They question the exact timeline and workforce size. This is healthy skepticism, the very engine of academic progress. But on the far end of the spectrum lies a darker, more convoluted realm. Here, the theories intertwine with claims of hidden chambers, containing esoteric knowledge, of a global elite that has suppressed the truth to maintain power, and of the pyramids being part of a worldwide, prehistoric energy grid. This shadow world suggests that institutions like academia and Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities are not merely protective of their paradigm, but are actively engaged in a cover-up. Why? Perhaps to protect the foundation of history and religion. If the pyramids are far older, the timeline of human civilization collapses. If they were built by aliens or a lost civilization, then the narrative of human progress, from primitive to advanced, is a lie. For some, this suppression is about power, the power to control the past, and therefore, the present. The emotional core of all these theories, from the alien to the acoustic, is a profound and very human sense of wonder. It is a refusal to accept that something so magnificent could be the product of something as mundane as organized labor. It is a romantic yearning for a past that was more mysterious, more connected, and more profound than the one presented by textbooks. To reduce the pyramids to a massive public works project feels, to some, like explaining a rainbow as mere refraction of light. It is factually correct, but it drains the phenomenon of its magic. Furthermore, these conspiracies often arise from a deep and sometimes justified distrust of authority. When experts speak from institutions of power, their explanations can feel imposed, dismissive of the awe that the layperson feels. The official story can be delivered with a finality that brooks no questioning, creating a vacuum that alternative narratives eagerly fill. The conspiracy becomes a form of rebellion, a way for the individual to reclaim the mystery from the hands of the establishment. Yet, for all their imaginative appeal, these theories often crumble under the weight of their own logic. The ancient astronaut theory, for instance, must answer a paradoxical question. Why would a species capable of interstellar travel employ a technology so advanced it is indistinguishable from magic to pile up rocks? Why use a hyper-dimensional stargate to create a structure that, for all its precision, is ultimately a pile of stone blocks, if their goal was to leave a message or a beacon? Wouldn't a technology that survives the UNs, etched on diamond hard plates or encoded in a stable orbit, be more effective than a structure slowly being eroded by wind and smog? Similarly, the lost civilization theory must explain where this global, advanced culture went, and why not a single piece of its advanced technology, no tools, no machinery, no artifacts of an industrialized society, has ever been found. The evidence for their existence is the very thing they are theorized to have built. It is a circular argument. The archaeological record shows a clear, if rapid, evolution in pyramid building, from the simple mastaba tombs to the stepped pyramid of Djoser, to the bent pyramid of Sneferu, and finally to the perfected form at Giza. This is not the work of a culture inheriting a technology. It is the record of a culture inventing it, learning through trial and error. But the human imagination, once unleashed, is not so easily satisfied. The foundational theories of aliens and lost civilizations are but the trunk of a tree whose branches have grown wild and intricate, reaching into the darkest corners of speculation. As the 20th century gave way to the 21st, with its digital ether connecting every curious mind, the conspiracies evolved, mutated, and intertwined, forming a new, more complex mythology for a hyper-connected age. The whispers no longer speak only of how the pyramids were built, but why they were truly built. The theory of the pyramids as tombs is dismissed as a facile cover story, a child's fable told to tourists. The new narratives speak of energy, not the spiritual energy of the ancients, but a measurable, harnessable, physical force. Proponents of this idea point to the pyramid's shape itself, a geometric form said to focus and amplify vibrational frequencies. They speak of the materials. The granite within the king's chamber contains quartz crystals, which are piezoelectric, meaning they generate an electric charge under mechanical stress. The constant, immense pressure of the millions of tons of stone above, they argue, could have turned the entire structure into a massive, natural power generator. The subterranean chambers, often glossed over in tours, become critical in this theory. They are not unfinished tombs or pits for debris, but the resonating heart of the machine. Some claim the pyramids were part of a vast, global network of such structures positioned on Keeley lines or Earth energy grids, designed to wirelessly transmit power across the planet. The absence of soot or torch marks in certain chambers is cited as proof. The ancients didn't need fire for light. They illuminated their world with crystalline, harmonic energy. This theory seamlessly merges with the narrative of a lost, advanced civilization, suggesting that Atlantis fell not because of a moral failure, but because of a cataclysmic short circuit in this planetary grid, a technological hubris that led to their downfall. From energy, it is a short leap to communication. Another branch of modern speculation posits the Giza plateau, not as a generator, but as a transmitter. The precise alignment to true north and the mathematical encoding of the Earth's dimensions are reinterpreted. This was not for astronomical observation alone, it was for celestial targeting. The pyramid, sheathed in its brilliant, reflective casing stones, could have acted as a beacon, a cosmic lighthouse visible from other star systems. Or, more esoterically, its shape could have been designed to manipulate space-time itself, creating a stable wormhole or a dimensional gateway. The theories become profoundly metaphysical, suggesting the pharaohs did not merely journey to the afterlife in a spiritual sense, but physically translocated to another point in the universe, using the pyramid as a stargate. The intricate shafts leading from the king's and queen's chambers, aligned with specific stars like Sirius and Orion, are not spirit pathways, but focusing lenses for this incredible technology. This leads to one of the most persistent and tantalizing sub-theories, the Hall of Records. Propounded by the famed psychic Edgar Cayce in the early 20th century, it has been adopted and weaponized by modern conspiracy circles. Cayce claimed that the lost civilization of Atlantis, foreseeing its own destruction, secreted its entire archive of knowledge in a hall buried somewhere near the Sphinx. This hall, he prophesied, would be rediscovered and opened at a time of great transition for humanity. For decades, seekers have used ground-penetrating radar and other technologies to search for cavities and tunnels beneath the Sphinx and the pyramids, often interpreting every geological anomaly as proof of the hidden chamber. The conspiracy deepens with the role of official institutions. Any denial of access for drilling or excavation by the Egyptian authorities is not seen as archaeological caution, but as active suppression. The narrative shifts from a simple cover-up of history to a suppression of technology. The hidden knowledge in the Hall of Records is not just history, it is free energy, anti-gravity, and cosmic consciousness. Technologies that would dismantle the global economic and power structures built on oil and scarcity. The elite, the theory goes, already know this. They have always known. Secret societies, said to be the custodians of this ancient wisdom, are accused of working behind the scenes to ensure this power remains hidden, preserving their own dominance. The pyramids, therefore, are not just relics. They are the ultimate symbol of a war between hidden knowledge and controlled ignorance. In the digital age, these theories have found new life and new forms. Satellite imagery and internet sleuths have given rise to the Google Earth archaeologist, who spots alleged pyramids buried under sand or submerged off coastlines, claims that are often debunked as natural geological formations, but nonetheless fuel the fire. The discovery of slight thermal anomalies in the limestone of the Great Pyramid in 2015, dubbed the discovery of a new chamber by breathless media, was a feast for conspiracy theorists. While scientists cautiously spoke of small voids that could be construction gaps, the alternative community saw immediate confirmation of the long-sought hidden chambers, the proof of the Hall of Records. When further investigation proceeded slowly and methodically, it was yet more proof of the delay and obfuscate tactics of the powers that be. The most recent layer of conspiracy is perhaps the most audacious, tying the pyramids to humanity's future rather than its past. Some theorists, looking at the relentless march of climate change and societal unrest, see the pyramids as an arc. They were not built by a civilization that was lost, but by one that knew it would be lost. They are a message in stone, a warning, or a set of instructions for a future species, us, to decipher before we repeat the same mistakes. The mathematical constants encoded in its dimensions are not for show. They are the fundamental language of the universe, a primer for a species that has forgotten its place in the cosmos. The conspiracy, then, is that our leaders are not merely hiding technology. They are hiding our true purpose and our only chance for salvation, hoarding it for themselves to ensure their survival in the coming collapse. They themselves are engineering. This ever-expanding universe of theory creates a self-sustaining ecosystem of belief. Any lack of evidence for a theory is itself taken as evidence of the conspiracy's depth and effectiveness. The silence of the sands is not empty. It is pregnant with hidden meaning. The academic's demand for peer-reviewed proof is dismissed as the bleating of a closed-minded priesthood protecting its dogma. The true believer, armed with YouTube videos and niche forum posts, feels they have pierced a veil that the institutional expert is blind to. And so, the wind that whispers across the Giza plateau now carries not just the old mysteries, but a new, digital age folklore. It is a tapestry woven from threads of genuine wonder, a distrust of authority, the seductive allure of a hidden truth, and the timeless desire for our world to be more magical than it appears. The pyramids, impassive and eternal, have become a blank screen upon which each generation projects its greatest hopes and its deepest fears. They are catalysts for a conversation that is less about the past and more about our present, about who controls knowledge, what we are capable of, and what we are ultimately meant to become. The stones remain silent, but the theories shouting around them are a roaring, chaotic, and uniquely modern testament to their undiminished power to captivate the human soul.